Spells of sunshine, the wind's a little bit lighter by this stage, so something a little quieter weather-wise by the end of the weekend. Rita.
Ben, thank you very much. That's it from us. Now it's time for the news where you are. Bye-bye.
Hello, I'm Declan Harvey, and this is BBC Newsline, the top stories. A police force from England is being brought in to investigate alleged events at the home of the police ombudsman, Marie Anderson.
I do think that there's scope that the ombudsman can step aside while the investigation takes place.
A County Down family's fears for the teenagers from Gaza who stayed with them last year.
We're absolutely broken-hearted. We're worried sick about them. We want the best for them. We want peace.
School attendance rates here over the past 2 years are the worst on record. We've the final part in our series, hearing from various shades of unionism. Tonight, among others, we speak to Orange men in Coleraine.
I think the DUPs should stand firm. I think they have no other choice. They've been backed into a corner. The people have put them there. They've given them a mandate.
Also on the way in the next half hour or so, we catch up with 4 men who fled here from the civil war in Syria, and now they want to give something back.
The Rugby World Cup may be over for Ireland, but Ulster are now preparing for the start of their new season.
And after a miserable, wet and windy end to the week, things are gradually going to be improving as we go through the course of the weekend. I'll have the forecast.
You are very welcome to our programme on this Friday evening. A police force from England is being brought in to investigate alleged events at the home of Northern Ireland's police ombudsman, Marie Anderson. The PSNI has asked West Midlands Police to lead the inquiry, and some senior politicians have said the ombudsman should step aside while it's carried out, as Sarah Gervin reports.
What's under investigation is an alleged domestic incident at the home of Police Ombudsman Marie Anderson last month. While no further details have been released, it's understood the investigation relates to an incident over 2 days at her home in Holywood in County Down. At the time, the PSNI said a 63-year-old man was arrested for common assault and interviewed. He was released and a file was forwarded to the Public Prosecution Service. The PSNI has now asked West Midlands Police to investigate matters and assess whether there are any criminal offences following the alleged incident. UUP leader Doug Beattie says the Ombudsman should temporarily step aside from her role during the investigation.
This is quite serious. I think we need to protect that public office. It's really important. The Ombudsman is in position through royal warrant. And we need to take that into consideration. But I do think that there's scope that the Ombudsman can step aside while the investigation takes place.
That call has been echoed by the DUP's deputy leader. In a statement, Gavin Robinson said, "Whatever the outcome of the investigation underway, officers had contacted me questioning how she can continue in the post in the interim. Whilst this investigation continues, there should be interim arrangements with Marie Anderson stepping aside until it has been concluded." The PSNI, West Midlands Police and the Police Ombudsman's Office said that as the investigation is live, they will not be providing any further comment. Sarah Gervin, BBC Newsline.
The interim chief constable says the PSNI force will not appeal a court ruling that found 2 junior officers were unlawfully disciplined for an arrest at a Troubles commemoration during the pandemic. It happened in 2021 during a memorial event at the site of the Sean Graham bookmakers attack on the Ormer Road. In a statement today, John Boucher said an appeal would not be lodged, and he's offered to meet and apologise to both officers. It's been confirmed the body discovered in Maharai yesterday is that of Lee Johnston. The 21-year-old, who was from Coleraine, had been missing for almost 2 weeks. His disappearance had led to extensive searches in the Maharai area. The body was found near a flat which was also being searched. Police say Mr. Johnston's death is not being treated as suspicious at this time. Now, this is Loretta Harper and 3 teenage girls from Gaza who came to stay with her in County Down last year, given recent events in the Middle East. Loretta has been desperately trying to get in touch with them again. She knows one of them survived a bomb attack, but she hasn't heard from the other 2. Mark Simpson has more.
This is in Belfast, and these are 3 of the teenagers who stayed with me last September. Malak, Rahaf and Yara.
They came from northern Gaza to South Down as part of an international drama scheme supported by the British Council called the Hands Up Project. They stayed with Loretta and her husband Gary and made the most of their short stay. A teacher also stayed with the Harper family.
I've been trying to keep in touch over the last couple of weeks since everything has happened. It's been quite difficult. Renan, the teacher who stayed here, unfortunately she was caught up in the bomb in the hospital. Thankfully she's alive for now.
What about the 3 teenage girls? Have you heard from them? Do we know how they are?
Well, I actually managed to get a very quick video call with Malak a few days ago. I haven't heard from her since. I know that her house was bombed. She has tried to move down south with her family, so I got a very short video call with her the other day, and believe it or not, she still was smiling. The other 2 girls I haven't heard from at all, and nobody has heard from them, so we really don't know what their fate has been. We're worried sick about them. We want the best for them. We want peace.
Is there any possibility that they simply have no internet or no electricity and they're still okay?
Yes, there is a distinct possibility that that is the case. However, the city that they live in has been totally obliterated. So it just depends on whether or not they got out before all the bombing occurred. So there's a faint hope, yeah.
Can you just bring us up to Loretta and Gary say all they can do is wait and hope for good news. Mark Simpson, BBC Newsline in South Down.
Absentee rates for children at school have rocketed here, and we now have a significantly bigger problem with it than in England and Wales. Reasons for younger people refusing to go to school can be complex, but it's well acknowledged it has seriously detrimental effects on their education. The latest figures come from the Department of Education. Robbie Meredith has more.
Karina's autistic daughter Lily has been out of school since January, waiting all that time for an appointment with a mental health specialist and for other support she needs.
It's had a major impact on her, to be fair. Lily has left the house, I would say, 5 or 6 times in the past 10 months. 2 of those were to hospital appointments. 2 other times were to be in the car, or she sat in the car. She didn't get out the car, but it was just like a wee journey with us in the car. If Lily had been seen even within 2 months back, whenever she'd been referred, you would have been probably closer to, well, hopefully closer to having her kind of have a normal day-to-day kind of thing now, going to school or maybe making wee friends or whatever it may be. And to me, she's missed out on all that as well as her education.
Long waits for that kind of help are just one of the reasons school absences here are through the roof. Chronic absence is when a pupil is off for at least 19 days in a school year. Severe chronic absence is when a pupil is off for at least 38 days. In the 2 most recent school years, around 30% of all pupils have those rates of absence. That's around 90,000 children each year. Heads aren't surprised.
Unfortunately, after COVID, a lot of families and students have been struggling. And I think undiagnosed mental health, a lack of access to mental health facilities, poverty, housing, increase in costs, cost of living, so many factors are influencing why children are not coming to school. And I think it's really important as educators that we work proactively and that we work collaboratively in hand with lots of other stakeholders and agencies, because we can't do it on our own.
But as demand for support rises, schools and many services for children are under increasing strain, to Karina's frustration.
I think our MPs or MLAs or whatever they may be really need to get their act together, because they're failing us all. They're failing the children, they're failing the schools, they're failing the hospital sides, they're failing everything, and everybody's suffering.
Help for her daughter and other families can't come a minute too soon. Robbie Meredith, BBC Newsline.
All week on this programme, we've been examining the DUPs dilemma. Do their voters want them to continue the Stormont boycott or not? We've heard from various shades of unionism. Tonight, it's the turn of Orange men in Coleraine and also an independent unionist MLA who's become so frustrated with the DUP, she says she's considered quitting politics. Here's our political editor, Enda McLafferty.
Orange men in Coleraine have been meeting in this hall for more than 100 years. It's a place where they cherish their link with the Windsors, but it's also now a place where another Windsor link dominates discussion.
We have to stand firm on it. There's no going back. There's no such thing as power sharing and the protocol. We can't have the two.
And there was no hiding the defiance in the room.
I think the DUP should stand firm. I think they have no other choice. They've been backed into a corner. The people have put them there. They've given them a mandate. And I think they have to carry on and carry out the will of the people that put them there.
If Germany was to have a vote in the European Union tomorrow, would they leave Bavaria behind? I don't think they would. As in terms of the DUP going back into power, they can't go back into power until this is settled.
When he's not wearing his sash, Russell Watton is also the PUP leader.
There's still a border between us and the rest of our country, and that's a no-no. And as regards to back into Stormont, there is no clamour to go back into Stormont whatsoever from anybody. If the DUP did go back, and it would cause a serious rupture among royalism.
But that is not how other politicians see it. As an MLA, Claire Sugden has been waiting almost 20 months to get back to her job at Stormont, and in that time she has considered quitting.
I think the DUP are setting us up for more problems down the line. So not having a government in place is just, it's not acceptable. And, you know, people are starting to question it for their lives. You know, this is affecting our health service. It's a matter of life and death.
But the local DUP MP wasn't feeling any pressure. So much so, he was happy to put his support to the test in the town centre. Are you fully behind this man and his party in boycotting Stormont until they get their issues resolved around the protocol?
Yes, of course. We've been done over by the Republic of Ireland and the EU, and they're trying to punish us for mistakes they've made. So yeah, stay out of it. There's no point running back and being their lapdogs.
Pull their fingers out and sort it, you know, and then the country can move on and we can get on with things instead of just hanging about doing nothing.
What do you feel about his party's boycott of Stormont? Are they doing the right thing, do you think?
I think they are. You have to make a stand. His party and his voters have been walked over for a long time, and as to say, you have to make a stand at some point.
I think we should get together and get this thing sorted out as quickly as possible. The country can't stand any more delay in this. It has to work. You've got to make it work.
So your message to Gregory Campbell is go back into government then?
Yes.
Well, I think everybody wants to see the problem solved so that we can get back into Stormont. And we need to try and get that trading arrangement that stops people from goods from coming from GB to NI and vice versa. So we're working towards that end, but the difficulties are still there. But we're hopeful that we will get them resolved.
No clues, though, as to when that might happen. But the majority of those we spoke to did back their local MP. Enda McLafferty, BBC Newsline, Coleraine.
Now, a number of neighbourhoods in Belfast will have their street signs automatically updated to be in both English and Irish under plans by the City Council. The only exceptions will be if a certain percentage of locals lodge an objection. Let me show you the areas that we're talking about. They're all in the west of the city. 3 areas, the Falls, Ballymurphy and Turf Lodge, all of them on this side of the West Link. This area has become known in recent years as the Gaeltacht Quarter, from where Kelly Bonner now explains more.
We are in the heart of the Gaeltacht Quarter here in West Belfast, and it's signs like these that could be across all 417 streets that make up the Gaeltacht Quarter here in West Belfast. Now, back in March, Belfast City Council agreed to move forward with this dual language street signage, and today those proposals were agreed subject to approval by the full council. So what's actually going to happen? Well, Irish language signs will be across all of the streets in the Gaeltacht quarter, which runs up the Falls Road into Ballymurphy and down towards the Turf Lodge area. But what if someone actually doesn't want these street signs on their street? Well, there must be an objection from 15% of those in that street for a consultation process to be triggered. Now, there was also an agreement today that the dual signs won't make their way into the village area of South Belfast. We also heard that the numbers actually do stack up. The council heard today that by doing this, they would save just shy of £210,000. Kelly Bonner, BBC Newsline in West Belfast.
Well, like many of us over the years, James Blake has uploaded photos of himself onto social media. What he didn't expect was to have those photos taken by scammers and plastered across internet dating sites to trick others. But James wanted to know who these scammers were. So he decided to track them down, and what happened next is part of a new BBC documentary. Ida Duncan explains.
My whole world is digital and it's all online. And my personal Insta is a massive part of getting business in.
A successful entrepreneur, James Blake was living the life. The Lisburn native had the business, the cars, the lifestyle and the social media profiles to match. But James soon learnt there were many more profiles, all using his pictures. Fake profiles used his image, his office, his cars, his holiday snaps, and they were everywhere.
Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, WhatsApp, Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, Grindr, Luxy. Even my dog Lily was being used in a GoFundMe.
In the documentary, James speaks to women who'd fallen for his picture and his lifestyle and thought they were chatting to him online, but instead they'd been chatting to scammers.
They've taken your life savings and got you to debt.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry that this has happened and that it's been my face used to do it.
Despite reporting to social media networks, the profiles remained. So James and his documentary team began to look behind the fakes, and they found that they were not just individuals, but organised criminal gangs on the other side of the world. Their journey led them to Thailand, where over the border in Myanmar, trafficked people were being forced to work in large scam centres. One former employee explains what conditions were like inside.
We were like in a prison. We had a timetable. They were controlling everything. We had to work 16 hours and we don't have enough time to sleep. There was so many rules, and if you don't obey them, they will punish you.
Having set out to get his online identity back, James found that there were many victims, both those that were conned and those that were forced to carry out the con. Ita Dungan, BBC Newsline.
Well, you can watch Hunting the Catfish Crime Gang after BBC Newsline's late update next Tuesday. A group of men who fled the Syrian civil war and came to Northern Ireland have said they want to give back to the people who welcomed them here. The four of them and their families moved to the North Coast as part of the Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Scheme. But over recent months, they've worked to transform a waste ground in Ballymoney into a garden for everyone to enjoy. Marie McCann went along.
Before Bassam moved to Northern Ireland, he and his family were living in a tent in a refugee camp in Lebanon for 8 years. But now, he says, life is much better.
Big change. Very big change from to the camp to the house and the very lovely community.
Bassam's family is one of a number which resettled in Portstewart as part of a government scheme to help people who fled the war in Syria. And to say thanks to the people who first helped them, he and his friends have transformed this community centre's garden.
BCRC helped us when we came to here in to Northern Ireland. Help us for teaching English, for lots. I should be help them, yeah. And with my family, with my friends, made this garden from zero to this view now.
They've been received and welcomed here into the community here locally, and they want to give back. They want to give something, and then they're getting something from this too. And it's just like any type of volunteering volunteering's a two-way street, and you know it is lovely, and I don't mean this been over the top. The looks in their faces whenever they see, you know, what it is that they've achieved.
The men were helped by local business as well as conservation volunteers.
So the purpose is not just for the BCRC but for the whole community, all these shops, whole community around Ballymoney and outlying towns that can come in, do a bit of gardening, sit down, have a chat, just to bring the community together really.
And the men feel this project has helped them be part of the community too. Maria McCann, BBC Newsline, Ballymoney.
A lot of hard work. All right, in sport this evening, we start with rugby, although, sadly, it's not in anticipation of Ireland in a Rugby World Cup semi-final, is it? Nonetheless, where are we?
No, it's all very disappointing, isn't it, Declan? It's New Zealand and not Ireland who are in that World Cup semi-final tonight for a place in the final next week. We will reflect on Ireland's exit from the World Cup shortly, but fear not, we've still got Ulster Rugby. They kick off the new United Rugby Championship season tomorrow with a trip to Italy to face Zebra. The match will see the return of Will Addison after a near 2-year absence with injury. And the whole team is looking to get the new campaign off to a flying start.
We're kind of developing a mantra: if we win or we learn. I think that's going to be huge for us. It's the fortunate thing about playing for Ulster, like you're expected to win every game. Absolutely, and like the squad we have now know that more than ever. And that's, I suppose, the pressure we have. But yeah, we love it and we thrive in that.
Live commentary of the game on BBC Radio Sounds. Now, I think it's fair to say, as Declan and I were saying, that all Irish rugby fans are still hurting after their team was knocked out of the World Cup by New Zealand. We asked our rugby commentary team back from the tournament to reflect on why Ireland failed to get past the quarter-final stages yet again.
The Ireland squad returned home this week to muted celebrations following their exit at the hands of New Zealand. All such a contrast to the quiet confidence at the start of the World Cup. So where did it all go wrong against the All Blacks?
It was a very confident camp without being remotely arrogant, and they did genuinely think that this was going to be their year. They needed to play at their very best for 80 minutes. Alas, they never really played at their very best, and they certainly didn't play in anything more than patches for those 80 minutes.
New Zealand have stolen that one, and Ireland can't quite get it back. That's another misfiring Irish line-out.
And the All Blacks always had that wee bit of a safety cushion, and they always had the edge in just about every department, and defensively they were outstanding.
Ireland get a great squeeze in the scrum, and again Ireland get themselves penalised. Now what is all that about? Andrew Porter incandescent with rage.
Our set piece, unfortunately, our scrum didn't function the way we needed to function. Our line-out didn't function again the way we needed to function. Perhaps maybe did the South Africa game and the Scotland game take out more from the players than what we actually realised, and maybe were they just that little few percent tired from those matches emotionally and physically? Could we, or maybe should we have made more changes in other games to bring a bit more energy on the pitch and get it across the line? But I mean, in hindsight, it's just so easy to look at those things. Ultimately, this team certainly deserved to be in a semi-final and get past that whole quarter-final hoodoo. We were better than our quarter-finals in this World Cup.
For the Ulster contingent, there'll be more rugby soon enough with the new season.
Professional sport is such that you've got to get over it pretty quickly and get on with the next job at hand. So yeah, they'll take some downtime now, enjoy that time off, maybe reflect, and then we'll look forward to getting them back in.
But it's also 4 more years of licking wounds after the one that got away.
When I looked at it, I thought this is a very tough draw, but if Ireland can get into the semis, they were good enough to win the World Cup. Alas, they didn't get to the semis, and they haven't won the World Cup, and so it goes on.
Well, in tonight's local football, Derry City are at home to Shelbourne. Commentary on Radio Foyle and Sounds. While in the Irish Premiership, champions Larne take on Carrick. And we have live coverage on the BBC iPlayer and website of league leaders Linfield visit the Solitude to take on Cliftonville, who they've already beaten once this season.
Hopefully a great game. Certainly we'll be conscious that they're a very good side, and as much as we pushed them in the away game, we didn't carry enough threat, so hopefully we'll have a more attacking threat this time round.
Yeah, it should be a great game. Now, at the Power Chair World Cup in Sydney, Australia, Northern Ireland have ended on a high. They beat the Republic of Ireland by 3-0 in their final playoff game to record a first ever win at a World Cup finals. And that victory meant that the team have finished in 9th place overall at the tournament. Well done to them all. In snooker, world number 1 Ronnie O'Sullivan has pulled out of the Northern Ireland Open for medical reasons, but Mark Allen will begin the defence of his title this Sunday. And finally, today's action at the Sunflower Trophy motorcycle races, unsurprisingly, was abandoned due to the weather, and the event will now take place on Saturday and Sunday. That is the sport, Declan.
Thanks, Stephen. Despite the weather, this guy was captured on the north coast today near Fairhead. No doubt on the lookout for some unsuspecting individual with a bag of chips that he could sweep down, take the hand off them for it. But joking aside, Scotland are getting a rattle at the minute. Are we going to see a similar weekend?
No, thankfully our rain warning has actually been cancelled because things are starting to improve. But it has been a miserable day. It's been wet, it's been windy, leaves all over the place. We've flooding in places, large puddles. The good news is it is going to improve slowly as we go through the course of the weekend, especially by Sunday, becoming drier and brighter. The wind coming down as well, but it will become a little bit cooler, and that's because for a time anyway, the wind will be coming in from the north. So let's take a look at the radar today. Fairly persistent rain this morning. It is all trying to shift its way south. We still have weather warnings in place for eastern parts of the Republic, turning more showery from the north across Northern Ireland, but it has been a dull and wet day nonetheless. So nice to see something quite cheery there in Ballycastle with those colourfully painted buildings. So this evening, well, the rain will be continuing to move away to the south. Still windy. We'll get some showers coming in towards the north overnight. Inland generally drier, a bit cooler than recent nights, around 6 to 9 degrees. Now, the wind comes down a little bit later in the night. Nevertheless, still quite breezy as we go into tomorrow. And although not as wet as today, there will be scattered showers in the mix. They're probably going to be more frequent in northern areas, but that northerly breeze could push a few further inland at times through the day. But come the afternoon, the cloud will start to break in between them. So we should start to see some brighter sunny spells coming through, but not really helping the temperatures, only around 10 or 11 degrees. Now, the winds ease and skies start to clear tomorrow night. We've another low coming in towards the south, and it's running up towards the North Sea again on Sunday, so unsettled for southern and eastern areas again. Not as bad as it has been, though. More settled out towards the west, and you can see the isobars are opening out. So into Sunday, we've lighter winds. May start out quite chilly, 4 or 5 degrees in places, maybe the odd patch of mist and fog. Most places, though, are going to end up with a fine day with good spells of sunshine, maybe just the odd shower towards the north coast, and highs around 13 degrees. But later on, we could see cloud and rain starting to move into parts of the southwest, a brisk south-easterly breeze setting in, and that's trying to push the whole system north. So wouldn't be surprised to see 1 or 2 showers on Monday, but it's really after that things turn more unsettled again next week.
All right, Angie, thank you very much for that. And that is it for this week from BBC Newsline. Whatever you plan for the weekend, stay safe and well, and we'll be back here Monday, 6:30. Bye-bye.